Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the Monday night edition of the program. We're live, we're national, and I'm looking forward to a great conversation with you guys tonight. The phone number is 833-4825-337-8334 Valdez, and President Trump made it to his destination in Butler, Pennsylvania, and began his speech saying, so as I was saying, which was so Trumpian, Trump-esque, if you will. We also have more FEMA controversy. I'm going to get to that in a second. My buddy Curtis Sliwa, his son was attacked along with a former governor of New York State in Manhattan, right in New York City. We're going to get to the bottom of that in a little bit. And, of course, the New York Times now jumping ship, saying that Kamala should not tout her economic record. Interesting. That's a nice way of the New York Times jumping ship, I would say. And even they know que mala eres means how bad you are. In Spanish, of course. And that's some of the stuff I want to get into tonight. Of course, it's October 7th, the one-year anniversary of the horrific attack by Iran by way of Hamas on Israel. They attacked the music festival, just a lot. And so much has gone on, and we've tried to bring you so many updates from the field, live from Israel many times, and we're going to talk about that again, kind of look a year in review and see, what's going on. Like most people, I think I want to see this war finished. I want to see the threat eliminated and the loss of life end on both sides, right? Nobody wants to see that. But I want to start with FEMA, because FEMA is continually in the crosshairs of the public, right? People are very, very, very upset with what's going on, with the way that this is being handled. Trump continuously blasting the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden administration as the most incompetent, with the most incompetent response to a natural disaster. And well, of course, people are going to criticize him, and even I might. I don't think he's doing it in a bad way. I think if he were doing it in a bad way, then one could say, "Come on, stop trying to politicize their failure." But I think it's political. Right? I think there's no two ways to put it. I'm sure that they would do that to him. They have done that to him, and what are you going to do? Right? That's how it is. I think that's the biggest argument that they make, is that, oh my gosh, you can't do this. I think you have to. You have to point out these failures. It's politics, and all these policies get politicized. And if the people on the ground weren't themselves saying that things weren't going well, then we could say, look, they're taking political pot shots, but let's listen to the people. But the people themselves are saying they're not interested. And we got to stop and ask ourselves, what is going on? Is this the America we want? An America where we don't care for our fellow man, where we don't care for the people that are in the biggest need right now? Where you have FEMA focused on things other than the most important thing, I think, that everybody's looking at right now, which is this storm and the relief that should be brought to these people for this storm. This is why people get upset, right? This is totally why people are upset. Anyway, FEMA, a couple of years back, we've got, let me see if I can remember this name here, Tyler Atkins, who's a spokesperson for the administration there. He says that FEMA is prioritizing LGBTQ and people because why? Because they are already disadvantaged. This is coming from a federal emergency management arm of the American government. He's talking about people being disadvantaged because of how they choose to practice their sexual orientation. That is their disadvantage, not the people that are keeping their head above water, literally, with no power, in homes filled with floodwaters that are muddy. God knows what kind of disease with hundreds dead. Absolute insanity. Anyway, I want you to hear what Tyler Atkins from FEMA was talking about just last February.
Wow. That really sparked a few things in my mind, thinking about preparedness and how you said, LGBTQIA people and people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that. It's just compounding on itself. And I think that is maybe the why of why we're having these discussions, is because it isn't being talked about. It isn't being socialized. We're not paying attention to this community.
We're not paying attention to this community because while you think they're disadvantaged, sir, the real disadvantage here is how all Americans are disadvantaged by the disaster that is this administration. Kamala Harris, Joe El Baboso Biden, Alejandro Mayorkas. He says FEMA's out of money. She says we'll give you $750. They're shelling out billions to the folks in Ukraine. They just shelled out billions to the folks in Lebanon, or millions at least. Absolute insanity. Now, I want to get, this is Flashback Monday, right? Doesn't really work that way, but that's how we're doing it. Kamala Harris, she, was it last year? Maybe the year before? She said to President Zelensky, "We stand with the people of Ukraine." Listen to this.
I am here in Switzerland to stand with Ukraine. The United States is committed to helping Ukraine rebuild. To that end, today, I am pleased to announce that the United States will provide more than $1.5 billion to address Ukraine's humanitarian and energy needs and to help relieve the suffering of the people of Ukraine. President Zelensky, this support is a demonstration of the fact, the indisputable fact, the United States stands with the people of Ukraine.
That's enough for her. You can kill that. Listen, the United States stands with the people of Ukraine. That's fine. Look, I stand with the people of Ukraine, too. I think they should keep their country. They shouldn't allow the Russians to take over. However, I stand with the United States first and foremost. I stand with the people in North Carolina. I stand with the people that pledge allegiance to the same flag as me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, this whole thing. These people are the actual natural disaster. They really are. Now, it doesn't end there. Of course, just last week, and we played it for you then, I'll play it for you again, just as a little bit of a flashback. Kamala Harris, how bad she is, how bad you are indeed. She says, look, we know you're going through a tough time, and we're gonna give out $750. Check this out.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met.
Well, the immediate need is to not drown, to not die, and survive this thing, to have relief. You know, people rely on their government for very little, I believe. Right? Very little. Some places don't have paved roads. That's okay. They ride on their dirt roads. They do what they got to do. But when it comes to a war, a fire, your safety and security, these are things that the schools you force us to send our kids to, right? Education's compulsory. People expect you to deliver on the few things that we're counting on you for. And she says, we're going to give you $750. Meanwhile, she just said, we're going to give you billions, and that we've pledged billions, 100 some odd billion dollars. Unbelievable. Well, now, Alejandro Mayorkas says on Friday, and I played it for you then, I'll play it for you again, because we're doing a flashback here. Mayorkas says FEMA is out of cash.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
Well, Mayorkas says FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season. That's funny. I wonder if you'd ask him, do you have the funds to make it through the season at the border? Because we're expecting another surge of migrants. What would the answer be there? Well, I think the answer would be, well, we found the funds. I think we found the funds. We've got all sorts of funds here. Well, anyway, Mayorkas says FEMA has no more money, but the Inspector General's report says the agency is sitting on billions. The Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security says the agency has billions in untapped funds for storm relief. This is being reported in Fox Business as well as on Breitbart. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas faces a firestorm of criticism for claiming that FEMA is out of disaster funds right as the DHS Inspector General released a report saying FEMA is sitting on at least $8.3 billion in untapped, unspent funds. What a pendejo. I can't believe this guy. I really can't. It's like, okay, if you want to get Trump, not that I condone it, but you want to get Trump, I understand your animus. You want to hold on to power. You want to, use the political power of your office to attack people, i.e. Trump. But to attack the American people because their city got washed away by a natural disaster that some are suggesting isn't even a natural disaster, that the whole thing was a fake, phony, fraud, scam, weather attack to get to lithium and other types of minerals in the ground. And I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm just saying some people are saying that. And you're going to tell me we don't have any money when you have the money? What is good with this? Anyway, he said that they don't have the money. This controversy is coming about because we have a new hurricane now, Hurricane Milton. It's just become a Category 5 storm. You've got massive evacuations that are now underway in Florida, which is still struggling from Hurricane Helene, just as Georgia was and North Carolina is. A lot going on here. What is the deal? I'll tell you what the deal is. This is exactly why Trump is leading. This is exactly why Trump is doing a lot better than he has in previous what's the word I'm looking for? Surveys or polls. Trump is crushing it right now. And the reason he's crushing it is because of them. He's out there and he's telling everybody what he's going to do, what he did, how he did. But bottom line here is the American people see the failure of the Biden administration, the failure of Kamala Harris, the vice president, and with the Biden administration. It's clear as day. You've got a new poll from Polymarket that came out today. Polymarket.com. 53.4% for Trump, 46% for Harris. It's huge. 8 points, how I see it. He's leading in Arizona, 67% to 33. In Georgia, 64% to 36. Pennsylvania, 55% to 45. Michigan, 53% to 47. That one is for Harris. Harris is also leading in Nevada, 52 to 48. And in Wisconsin. So 3 out of these 6 states are for Trump, 3 are for Harris. They have to continue. Each of them has to tighten that gap if either of them expects to win. And I think they both expect to win. But the margins are bigger for Trump. And this is a new poll that just came out today. But this is very revealing. I'd like to see what it looks like next Monday. Anyway, we're going to talk about a little bit of that and everything else that's going on. In addition to the natural disasters, you've got another natural disaster happening in New York. It's called the Democrat Party. And, of course, the administration of Joe El Baboso Biden and how it spills over with the administration of elite Eric Adams and crime that's running amok in big cities all across the country, not the least of which is my beloved Big Apple, the Rotten Apple, New York City. And I was dismayed over the weekend when a friend of mine, former Olympian, believe it or not an Olympian, but an Olympic competitor, he sent me a text and he said, "Hey, did you hear about Curtis's son?" And I said, "No, what happened? I didn't hear anything." I shut off on the weekends. And he said he was attacked. And I thought, oh, my goodness. And I looked and I said, oh, my God, I know this kid. I've hung out with him before, with him and Curtis. And I said, let me contact Curtis and see what's going on. And I did. And he said, yep, it's all true. I read it in the paper. I saw it online. And I thought, oh, my goodness. This is getting bad. Not only did they attack Curtis's son, they also attacked the former governor of the state of New York. What an embarrassment for these people. What an embarrassment. Anyway, here to tell us what's going on is my buddy Curtis Sliwa. He's coming up next. Don't move a muscle.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Congratulations on just an amazing show. I know you worked so hard in the industry, and nobody deserves it more than you do. So I'm happy to see you really succeeding here. It's awesome.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, Rich Valdez live from New York City with my man Curtis Sliwa. Now, you know Curtis Sliwa as a crime fighter, a safety patrol leader, an innovator, a leader. He ran for mayor. He's been on with us plenty of times, but I bet you didn't know that his son and the former governor of New York were attacked this weekend. Listen to this.
This assault happened right near their home here on the Upper East Side just before 9 p.m. We are told that they were walking in the neighborhood and then they somehow got into a verbal dispute with this group. Now, this group, we're talking about young people, 4 young men and a woman. Police say there was some verbal dispute that escalated into this attack. We're also told the former governor, David Paterson, suffered injuries to his head and face. The stepson, who's 20 years old, suffered injuries to the face. They were both taken to the hospital. They have since been released.
Unbelievable. And again, they don't live in a bad part of town. They live in one of the nicest parts of town, right in the city. Unbelievable. Anyway, Curtis Sliwa, welcome back, sir.
Bad circumstances.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, it doesn't matter where you live in New York City nowadays, Rich. The city is unsafe. Everybody's unsafe. When you're the former governor, and you're a young man of 20 years old and you have martial arts experience because you happen to have graduated the Guardian Angel program, and a gang of thugs, 9 in total, surround you, 3 teenagers, 6 adults, and then just begin to wail on you, then anybody is potentially a victim in New York City. Everybody is unsafe. There's nobody who is safe in New York City.
This is a shame for what was once America's safest large city. And I don't mean when Bill de Blasio was there, but I mean when Rudy Giuliani was there. And it really was the safest city. And Disney came to the city, and it was just really, truly a place for tourists and a place for families and a place for fun. And now it seems to be a hellhole, as some would put it mildly. Curtis Sliwa, we're almost up against the break. We're going to come right back, and I want to continue this story and find out exactly the scoop of what it was like when you got the call and whatnot. But who do you blame for this? Do you blame Adams? Do you blame Biden? Who do you blame? Kamala Harris?
No, I blame parents. They have children. They don't raise them right, and then they turn them loose, and they become our worst nightmares.
That's really well put. Folks, we're coming right back with Curtis Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels, New York City radio host extraordinaire, maybe possibly soon in the future candidate for mayor of New York City. I hope so. He's got my vote. And we're coming right back. We're going to talk about the attack on his son, everything else that's going on in the news as well. Keep it locked right here. It's me, Rich Valdez, America at Night. We're live, we're national, and we're coming right back with Curtis Sliwa. Don't go anywhere.
The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Familia, it's Rich Valdez here with you live till 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss not a single hour of this 3-hour program. Now, check this out. We were just talking with our buddy Curtis Sliwa. He's our guest right now. And Curtis Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels, New York City radio host extraordinaire, former candidate for governor in New York City. His son, Anthony Chester Sliwa, was involved in an attack, as well as former Governor David Paterson. And that's because one of Curtis's many ex-wives, right? Probably if he's on wife number 4, I don't know, I'd say maybe wife number 1 or wife number 2, is now married to former Governor Paterson. And this is why they were together. Now, you put that together, and they're in a nice neighborhood, but as Curtis said, there are no more safe neighborhoods in New York City. I've got a clip of what Governor Paterson had to say before we come back to Curtis. Listen to this.
Joining us right now is former New York Governor David Paterson. Nice to have you on Good Day New York.
It's nice to be here.
How do you feel?
I feel all right. It was a kind of a shocking incident, and not a real welcome from the community, because I moved down there and got married to Mary. So this wasn't a real welcoming present, but it was really interesting, because the kids who were involved, I didn't see them as juvenile delinquents so much as I saw them as mischievous kids. They were climbing up the bricks to a building that's adjacent to our building when my son, who was walking the dog by himself at the time, admonished them to come down and told them if they didn't come down, he was going to call the police. And they came down, and one of them got into something with him, and he kind of threw the kid aside. But then about 45 minutes later, he and I were walking east on 97th Street. We turned on 2nd Avenue, and now not only are the kids there, but some of their friends are there. So we got into this, argument with them. But then 2 adults got into the argument, and one of them, this woman who had red hair, was pushing Anthony against the window of the McDonald's. And when I told her to stop, she told me to get the F out of here, and was admonishing Anthony not to hit anyone. But then about 2 minutes later, when the fight started, she hit him.
Unbelievable. That, again, is former governor and lieutenant governor of New York State, who was attacked this weekend. And it's important to know that Governor Paterson, David Paterson, he's blind, right? He can't see this stuff coming. So, to hear that a blind man was attacked is crazy. And Curtis's son, who's only 20 years old. Anyway, Curtis Sliwa, you heard that. You got the call. And I want you to do 2 things. A, give us the play-by-play on how you found out that this whole thing happened. And B, your reaction to what the governor said.
Well, I got a call from a reporter at about 11 o'clock Friday night, about an hour before I had to do a overnight 6-hour program on WABC, and he filled me in on the details. So I called the mother of Anthony Chester Sliwa, my former wife, Mary. She was at the hospital with the former governor and with my son as they were being tended to by physicians. They had been battered and bruised and assaulted, and my son, Anthony, they were just giving him 5 stitches in his lip, and also he had a mild concussion. Oh. So she was dealing with that. And, I said, all right, let's talk about it in the morning. I continued the conversation with her and obviously Anthony Chester, who was home by then. And he gave me the details. And as you've seen the video. It's gang assault. This is the most vicious of assaults. People could have been killed. And now we're going to see what the infamous DA of Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, who turns criminals always loose, if he's actually going to remand these thugs to jail, no bail. There's a 40-year-old that was arrested earlier today and a 34-year-old. They are both adults, and they work for the New York City Housing Authority. So they were capable of intervening. They were capable of stopping the attack. Rich, they're the reason the attack started. They threw the first punch. The female punched my son in the face, and her partner, the male, punched Governor David Paterson in his face, and that's what started a mini riot at that time.
Amazing that you got the video of this. I just, I watched it a few minutes ago on my phone, the one you sent me, and just absolutely brutal. For folks who can't see it, I'm just going to give you a quick play-by-play on this. Somebody inside of a storefront, it appears, is recording this on their cell phone, and you just see these 2 people in the middle of the street. Next thing you know, they're knocked to the ground to one of Curtis's lines, to suck concrete. I mean, just a horrible beating. Looks like 4 or 5 people or 6 people on too.
Yeah, no, it was a full gang, and they were kicking and punching and stomping on Anthony. kicking them in the head. That's the danger point. That's where you can be kicked at a particular point by your head or skull, and it could kill you, or it could paralyze you for life. You could be incapable of moving. Very extraordinarily dangerous. So that's why they basically there was a frenzy of activity. But the ones who triggered it, normally it's the adults who come on the scene and push the teenagers away. Say, hey, come on, stop it. No, the adults were the ones that threw the first punches. That triggered off the teenagers to jump in. So it became, at one point, 9 people beating up on my son, beating up on the former governor, David Paterson, 9 versus 2. And out of the 9, 6 of them were adults who should have known better.
Wow. Folks, we're on with Curtis Sliwa, former candidate for mayor of New York City, legend and in the broadcasting game in New York City on WABC Radio, and, of course, the founder of the Guardian Angels. And, of course, the irony here, he's spent his career making the city safe. He himself has been shot 5 times with hollow point bullets, and now his son and the former governor attacked. The irony is astounding. The fact that there is so much crime, and crime is so rampant despite your efforts. And in my opinion, it's clearly a time for a change. This isn't something you wish on anybody, but I think it's eye-opening. What type of reception are you getting from the public?
Well, clearly they're upset. From the thugs and the thugettes, they've sent word out, through the grapevine. Yo, we didn't know it was your son. We didn't know it was your son. Because they know I'm going to be visiting that housing complex real soon if the criminal justice system doesn't do its job. But I'll give them a chance to do their job first. But I think these 2 adults are in need of an attitudinal readjustment. And if necessary, they need to suck concrete, because the public is at a point now where they see so much of this that when they do see people fighting back like the Governor David Paterson with my son Anthony, it heartens them. And even though my son got the worst of it, they really felt like, hey, that could have been me. He's fighting. He's fighting for the city. He's fighting against people who could have been assaulting me. There is an anger now that is percolated to the surface that I think will lead to vigilante activity of some type or another, because people have had enough. They can't leave to Florida anymore. Florida's going to no longer exist after Milton and the storm that follows. So that's it. You got to stay and fight for what you know is right.
Folks, Curtis Sliwa is our guest. We're going to come right back with him and get his political hot takes on a couple of other things that are going on in the headlines. And, of course, Curtis, my thoughts and prayers are with your son. I don't really know the governor. I saw him once at a party at the Hamptons. He didn't see me, obviously, because he's blind. But I do know your son, and I do wish him the best. And here for you, whatever you need. We're coming right back with Curtis Sliwa.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. America at Night, your home for the best election coverage.
All right, familia, welcome back, amigos. We continue our conversation. We're live, we're national, and we're on with Curtis Sliwa. It's Rich Valdez. I'm here with you live until 1 a.m. Make sure you're tuned in to every hour of the show. We've got a lot going on. We're going to talk about the October 7th anniversary in the next hour, as well as some Trump and Elon Musk and everything that went on this weekend. But right now, I want to check back in with Curtis Sliwa because I want to get his reaction to this. Saturday Night Live, which films in New York, it's live on Saturday nights, did a spoof on Kamala Harris, which means how bad you are in Spanish. And Kamala Harris was sitting next to her husband, Doug Emhoff. And again, it's a skit with Cicely Tyson and whoever the other actor is. And it's a play on her being drunk and whatnot in the official vice presidential quarters at the Naval Observatory, and making a little bit of fun of Tim Walz as well and the crazy things that he's been saying. Listen to this.
I don't know, Dougie. I kind of wish I had picked Josh right now.
Oh, Josh Shapiro?
No, Josh. Cabernet.
Look, Tim will be fine. It's not like he's going to say something crazy.
I've become friends with school shooters.
Okay, little flub there.
But I'm sure this guy has some things he'd want to, back out of as well.
He's right about that. That's an area where we have a lot of common ground.
Why are they vibing?
That, of course, is a skit with Cicely Tyson, as well as Andy Samberg playing Doug Emhoff and Jim Gaffigan playing Governor Walz. And Curtis Sliwa, of course, that was funny. But a lot of people are saying she seems like she's drunk on the campaign trail. What say you?
You mean half in the bag? You mean she's had some schnapps or maybe Jameson? She's been knocking it back?
Bellying up to the bar.
Yeah, no, she appears to be like a goofball at times. A little too goofy for me. Not serious enough. Now, does she have her flask out there on the campaign trail? Is she doing a little puff, puff, fast? Who knows? She may be trying to show that she's hip, she's happening. She wants that Generation Z, XYZ vote. But I don't know. It's hard to take Vice President Harris seriously because she is so goofy sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And the laugh doesn't help. Although I was kudos, right, to the folks at SNL for finally making fun of the other side and doing a pretty good job of it. But I think the reality here is that when SNL does that, I feel like the media establishment, whether it's entertainment media or news media, this is, I think, them signaling we're worried, right? Or we may have to start making funny jokes about Trump again in the White House, because that may be the reality. I think there's a lot of things indicating that Kamala Harris isn't gaining any momentum. At least from where I sit, it doesn't look that way. New poll out from Polymarket shows Trump with, I think, an 8.5-point lead. Again, whether it's accurate or not, I'm just thinking the trajectory of it seems accurate with him seemingly doing better than the rest of them. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have no fear. Look, anytime it's neck and neck, it's Trump's. Against Hillary, he was 6 points down right before the election. Against Biden, he was 7 points down right before the election. And look how close both those elections were. So now it's basically a jump ball. So that means Trump is ahead. And actually, this series of storms that have crushed through Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and the impotence of the federal government in dealing with FEMA, as I think strengthened the Trump-Vance brand, because people know that Donald Trump would have been there. Donald Trump would have come in with the pallets. Donald Trump would have been in there making sure the supplies got to the people in need. We don't see that from Biden. We don't see that from Harris. In fact, we don't see that from FEMA.
Yeah, and then they say they're running out of money. And the same day, I don't know, he said that on Friday. Today, the Inspector General at DHS, which oversees FEMA, comes out and says, no, we have $8 billion in unused storm funds. What's up with that?
$8 billion in unused storm funds. What about all the money that's going to the illegal aliens? The FEMA money that has been recirculated from what is generally supposed to be used for natural disasters. Look, if it was affecting an encampment of illegal aliens that, let's say, was positioned in any of these areas, hey, we have to come to their aid. You know, we're humanitarians. This is not affecting the illegal alien population, man. These are affecting Americans who are 4 or 5 generations, mountain people, or as Vance would be called, hillbilly people up there in the mountains. And we're not doing jack diddly squat for them. But if this were an issue involving illegal aliens at the border, FEMA money would be used for them to make sure that they get everything they ask for. And this is going to turn the tide for Trump and Vance. There's no doubt. This has angered Americans right across the board, including Democrats who are leaning towards Harris and the coach who looked like Rodney Dangerfield in that debate against J.D. Vance.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're spot on with that one. Curtis Sliwa, let everybody know how they can catch your show, how they can find out more about the work you're doing. Where do they find you? How do they follow you?
All you got to do is go to Twitter, X, you go to Facebook, you go to my Instagram. You'll have updates on the condition of Anthony Chester Sliwa, my oldest son, who was attacked in the streets of New York with Governor David Paterson. You can actually see the video, how grotesque, how barbaric it is. It is a gang assault. And then you can go to WABCRadio.com because, as you know, Rich Valdez, Latinos across America putting your hands to WABC in New York. WABC stands for Always Broadcasting Curtis. So you can get me morning, noon, and night. I don't think there's a time you can't hear Curtis Sliwa on WABC.
Not a bad gig if you can get it, right? Now, Curtis Sliwa, I just want to share with the audience and a reminder for you. But years before we worked together, I used to listen to you and Governor David Paterson and another guy, Herson Borrero. You had a back and forth kind of show where you were the more conservative and they were the more liberal. And it was a great show. So it's interesting to see that your former radio partner ends up marrying your former wife.
Yeah, well, remember, I've had 5 wives, so I am a serial marrier. I love them, and then they realize this guy is too difficult to handle, and then they show me the door. But it is interesting because Mary, who is the mother of Anthony, ends up marrying the former governor, David Paterson. The mother of my 2 youngest sons, Melinda Katz, she's the Queen's DA, a Democrat. So I've been involved in a lot of mama drama in my lifetime.
Baby mama drama, Curtis. I love it. Curtis, thanks, brother. Folks, follow him at curtissliwa.com. Check out the Guardian Angels website, guardianangels.org, and follow him at Curtis Sliwa on the social media. Curtis, I appreciate you, brother. I'll have you back again soon. And again, Godspeed to you and, of course, to Anthony Chester.
Thank you, my liberty-loving Latino. I got to head into the projects. I got some adults I got to give an attitudinal readjustment and have them suck concrete for what they did to my son.
Yeah, hey, eye for an eye, brother. I hear that. Godspeed to you, sir. Folks are coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdez. We're about to wrap up this hour, but we got a brand new hour coming up, and we're going to be talking about the 1-year anniversary of October 7th, the attack by Iran via Hamas, their proxy group, on Israel at that music festival. We're going to talk with an Israeli commando from the IDF, their army. And, of course, Kamala Harris, she's on 60 Minutes tonight. We're gonna bring you some of the highlights from that, or lowlights, I should say. And, of course, we've got more conversation about El Trumpito and Elon Musk hitting the campaign trail together in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he was almost killed. Don't go anywhere, folks. It's me, Rich Valdez, coming right back. Keep it locked.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to hour number 2 of our program, and we're live, we're national, and looking forward to speaking with you guys. We're talking about a bunch of things tonight. Here's the phone number, 482-5337, 833-482-5337, or 833-4-VALDEZ. Of course, that's Valdez with an S. And I'm at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. If you want to follow me there, I invite you to do that. And plenty to discuss tonight, right? So right now we've got Alejandro Mayorkas. He says that FEMA's out of money. Then the Inspector General puts out a report that says, nope, they're sitting on $8 billion of unspent hurricane money. How about that, right? How about those apples? Let me see what else we've got. Then you've got Elon Musk. He's got a super PAC. He was at the Trump rally this weekend. Big supporter of President Trump's. He's got this really cool black MAGA hat, which, hint, anybody listening, I want one of those black on black MAGAs. That's pretty cool. I have a red MAGA hat, like most people have, but I got mine at the White House while Trump was president, and that was so cool. So I think I've only worn it like twice. It's kind of like a little collector's piece for me. And I'd like the black one. Hint, anybody listening. Anyway, he has a super PAC, and he's offering, check this out, $47, just like he wants Trump to be the 47th president. He's offering $47 per referral to their free speech platform. It's kind of like that walking around money that the Democrats like to give out. And let's see, Trump's got his biggest lead, or getting close to it, since he entered the race with 8.5 points of a lead versus Kamala Harris. And I think that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can open this one up here. Can I? There we go. Yeah, look at it. 54% to 45.4%. Serious lead. This is from polymarket.com. Polymarket.com is the pollster on this one. Let me see. Let's continue here. What else did I want to talk about? There was another one here. There's another story. I'm getting to it. Bear with me. Love it when these things freeze up. We also have Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris on 60 Minutes today. We're going to get you. I got a bunch of good clips of audio there. Our studio team put those together, and we're going to go through them together in a moment. There was another thing I wanted to mention here. I don't know why it's escaping me. Hurricane Milton is just strengthened to a Category 5 storm, and you've got evacuations all over the place. So, of course, wishing everybody there the peace and safety and everything else. Godspeed on that one. Now, I want to get to this interview that just aired on CBS. Kamala Harris, right? Vice President Kamala Harris. And, of course, I call her Kamala Harris, which means how bad you are in Spanish, and how bad she is indeed. She's on 60 Minutes, and not even her friends in the media seem to be able to provide the cover that she needs anymore. Too many of them are getting embarrassed. It's almost like they were like, look, we're just going to get in with Trump because you're killing us, Kamala. Kamala, you are killing us. Anyway, she does this interview on 60 Minutes, and the interviewer, Bill Whitaker, fairly, I would say, for the most part, or at least in some degree on these questions, he really laid into her on a couple of topics, principally on immigration, the economy, her economic plan, and how she's been flip-flopping. And I got a nice chunky one here I want to play, because this one I think is very indicative of the word salad she does, but this time they weren't having it. Listen to Kamala Harris giving her response to what she says is her economic plan. Check this out.
It is estimated by the Nonpartisan Committee for Responsible Federal Budget that your economic plan would add $3 trillion to the federal deficit over the next decade. How are you going to pay for that?
Okay, so the other economists that have reviewed my plan versus my opponent and determined that my economic plan would strengthen America's economy, his would weaken it.
But
my plan, Bill, if you don't mind, my plan
that sounds familiar, right? She did that to Mike Pence
when you invest
at one
in
point. She did that to Mike Pence. Remember when she said, "Excuse me, I'm speaking." She just pulled the "I'm speaking," the good old "I'm speaking" on the interviewer from CBS, whose name I keep forgetting. Bill, what's his name? Bill what? Whitaker. Bill Whitaker. And how dare you, Bill, ask a question of Kamala Harris? She also immediately goes into this defensive mode, but with nothing to offer, saying things like, my plan will strengthen the economy. My opponent's plan will weaken it. Well, I mean, you got to be a little more specific. You've got to be able to point out exactly how and why. You can't just say, him bad, me good. It doesn't work that way. Anyway, let's continue.
Small businesses, you invest in the middle class, and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was...
Check this out. Small businesses are part of the American economy. Well, then why did she want to raise the corporate income tax from 21 to 28%? Why did she want to continually tax the backbone of the American economy? I don't understand why. But anybody here I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people here that have run a business. I don't care if it is a lemonade stand when you were 9 or 11 years old. If you've run a business, you know that anybody coming to you with their hand out asking for 21% of your money, you wouldn't want. You especially wouldn't want them to come and ask for 28% instead, right? I mean, this is a no-brainer. Now, of course, they have some sort of magic way of speaking where they tell you that you're going to like this stuff, that because somehow you won't pay it, some other guy's going to pay it. But anybody who's ever had a business knows, no, it's you that pays it. I think, people always ask me, you're a sellout. How could you be a Puerto Rican born in Brooklyn, New York, and live in New Jersey and become a Republican? It wasn't really about Republicans for me. It was just about, there were people that believed in cutting taxes that were part of the Republican Party. Nobody believed in cutting taxes on the Democrat side, right? I'm only 46. So there were no JFK Democrats since in the last 30 years. I've never heard a Democrat talk about cutting taxes and meaning it and actually doing it, right? So now you've got Bill Whitaker from 60 Minutes on CBS asking her, Madam Vice President, hold on, stop the presses. What's going on? I just asked you a question and you're giving me word salad. Listen to this.
How are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
When you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about. Their constituents are those firefighters and teachers and nurses. Their constituents are middle-class, hardworking folk.
And Congress has shown no inclination to move in your direction.
I disagree with you. There are plenty of leaders in Congress who understand and know that the Trump tax cuts blew up our federal deficit. None of us, and certainly I cannot afford to be myopic in terms of how I think about strengthening America's economy. Let me tell you something. I am a devout public servant, you know that. I am also a capitalist. And I know the limitations of government.
She says that she is a capitalist, a devout one. Where's the capitalism in Kamala's career, right? Kamala, excuse me. Kamala. Where is the capitalism in her? Where is I started a business with my mom, with my brother, with my sister. Even though I'm in public service, I helped her out with a loan so she could start this, that. I opened a law firm. Where is any of that? I see no evidence of her capitalism. I don't see her ever really supporting anything. I see her saying, when she's asked a question about how she's going to pay for a plan that's going to add $3 trillion to the deficit, she turns around and says how firefighters and nurses are being wronged, but goes and says that it is American businesses and business owners that are the backbone of the economy. Well, which one is it? Because when you talk about the constituents and the constituents knowing and people back home in the district, why aren't we talking about the business owners that are back home in the district? Why aren't we talking about the woman that does hair? Why aren't we talking about the woman that does nails? Why aren't we talking about the guy that drives a van that says Joe the plumber on it? Why aren't we talking about those constituents? Why aren't we talking about those people, those Americans, that part of the American backbone? Now, I got nothing against firefighters and teachers, but those are huge unions. These are people that are paid by the government. I want to know about nobody ever said the government is the backbone of the American economy. Government employees and government workers are not the backbone of the American economy. I'm not saying it. Not even she's saying it. She's saying that the backbone of the American economy is who? Small business owners. The same people that she wants to tax from 21 to 28%. So what gives? So you know what? Good for you, Bill Whitaker, for asking the right questions. But I think you should have pressed on, because allowing her to do this song and dance and this word salad isn't going to cut it. And then she gets called out on her flip-flopping and on immigration and a bunch of other stuff, and we're going to get into all of it. And I'll be giving you the play-by-play on all of that. Plus, we've got IDF Commando Elkana Cohen, who's going to be joining us to discuss the anniversary of October 7th. He's coming up in a little bit, but I got to get through this Kamala stuff first. And I got to tell you, this is pretty juicy stuff. You could see her floundering and flipping and flopping and just, I disagree. Well, there's nothing to disagree with. You said these things. People aren't blind. We're coming right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I want to listen to you, Rich, all the time.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdez live with you until 1 a.m. And right now we're talking about Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris, as I like to call her. And Kamala Harris is on 60 Minutes with Bill Whitaker. And you just heard him ask her, excuse me, but that's not the what I asked you, right? When he asked her about her economic plan that would cost $3 trillion more on our deficit. Now they're switching gears, and he asks her about flip-flopping, because people are sick and tired of her flip-flopping, and she still can't come up with an answer to that one. Listen to this.
Let me tell you what your critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for, and I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States, and I have been traveling our country, and I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regionally, in terms of where we are in our...
Stop the presses here. Listen, he just asked her about flip-flopping, and she's saying she's building consensus and she believes in geography, right? And I know she said geographically. But my point is, this woman, this is her go-to. What is your name? I like lawns, middle-class lawns, middle-class lawns. My mother saved up for a house. Never talks about her dad. My sister, she's using retail politics as if she's running for, county commissioner. I don't think this is going to work at the vice presidential, even the presidential level. It worked for her because I guess Biden dragged her through because she couldn't get any delegates to vote for her in the Democrat National Convention back when she was in the primary. But this really is an example of how bad she is, right? Kamala Harris. absolutely terrible. So bad that the interviewer from 60 Minutes on CBS had to literally chime in. You're going to hear Bill Whitaker right now. Reminder, excuse me, that wasn't the question. Listen to this.
Backgrounds. And what the American people do want is that we have leaders who can build consensus, where we can figure out compromise and understand it's not a bad thing, as long as you don't compromise your values, to find common sense solutions. And that has been my approach.
That's still not an answer to the question, Kamala. What a bad answer, how bad she is. Anyway, she goes on. She couldn't answer the question on the flip-flopping. She answers it with, typical word salad. Now it's time to move on to what she has to say about immigration, because she's no better on immigration. Listen to this.
I've been covering the border for years, and so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem. And solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was
Hang on a
asking
second.
was...
Hold on a second. He said what he's asking. He's about to follow up, and good on him for that. But I'm going to ask, from day one, what you've been doing is destroying energy in America, slowing down energy production, despite constantly saying we're at the highest levels of whatever. You guess what? We would be 4 times that amount if you didn't slow down everything, if you didn't pause the leases that are on federal land. This is the point that I think so many people are making right now. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have been disastrous for the country. Disastrous. And yet they want credit for it. She's talking about since day one. They haven't done anything since day one, when you have the left within the media calling you out, saying that border crossings have quadrupled under your watch. Why? And then he has to double down and say, look, that's not what I was asking. What I was asking was, listen to this.
Was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
But should you
we
have done
cut
that?
the
Should you
flow
have
of
done that?
fentanyl by half, but we need Congress to be able to act to actually fix the problem.
So there you have it. That's the answer. We quadrupled it, and now we've brought it down by half. Anybody interested in that? Just imagine husband going to the wife, and she's saying, look, I'm leaving you. You're a two-timer. You're cheating on me. And he says, look, I used to cheat on you with 4 women a year. I'm only cheating on you with 2 women a year. Come on. Keep me as your husband. I don't think it's going to work. Anyway, folks, we're coming right back. The music means we got to take a pause. We're coming right back. We're going to talk about the October 7th massacre by the Iranians on the Israelis. We're going to talk with an Israeli IDF commando coming up straight ahead. I'm Rich Valdez. Don't go anywhere.
Mr. Call Screener, who is a budding radio star, by the way. Richie Valdez is terrific.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. It's Rich Valdez, your liberty-loving Latino amigo. Happy to be here with you this evening. And I want to get into this topic of the 1-year anniversary of the October 7th massacre by Iran by way of Hamas on Israel at that music festival More than, I believe, more than 1,200 people were murdered in cold blood. There was a rape. It was absolutely horrific what we saw. And what's continued has been horrific. But slowly but surely, Israel has been striking back, gaining ground, leveling parts of Gaza in retaliation to eliminate the terrorist threat. And I want to get an update on what's going on and some reflection and reaction to this historic date from Captain Elkana Cohen. We call him Kuno, and he's the author of the book October 7th, The War Against Hamas Through the Eyes of an Israeli Commando Officer. He is a reserve commando officer in the Israeli Defense Forces, and he's our guest right now. Captain Elkana Cohen, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, sir. So I'd like to get your initial reaction to this. Obviously, I know you've served your country, and did you think that you would be in this fight a year later?
No, I did not thought, but unfortunately we are. I thought that we will be able to bring our brother and sister, 101 to be precise, that's
hostages.
Still holding, hostages is still holding in captivity by the end of Hamas. On October 7th, as you just mentioned before, 1,200 people were slaughtered, executed, murdered, and raped. Not all of them, but some of them are. And 253 people were kidnapped. And I thought, I wish, and every day I wish that to be able to celebrate with them here in their family, in our country. But unfortunately, as you said, it's the anniversary. Usually I'm not called as an anniversary. It's a memorial day for me. But we a year later and still fighting and trying to bring them back. So I wasn't thinking that we will still need to do that.
And Captain Elkana Cohen, I know that you started. You were born in Jerusalem, and you had you've had a good career in the military. Tell us about your service, how it's been, and how this particular war that you guys are in now compares with the rest of your military service.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for asking.
Of course.
Before 8 years, I was drafted into the IDF, and I went through a training course over 1 year and 4 months in order to be a combat soldier in the Duvdevan unit. For those who watched Fauda, it's a series on Netflix, that show based on my unit. And during my active service, what we were usually doing, my unit is specialized in going undercover, mostly in areas Judah and Samaria, and making sure that we are trying to fight and not allow any terrorists to fulfill their wishes to do a terrorist attack inside the Israel within Israel population, or to murder just civilians. And it was quite intense. By saying quite intense, it depends on the time, but some of the periods during my service, we had over 60 operation in a month. It was this was a very tough month, but every night we went through one or two operation in order to make sure that no one is able to kill any Jewish or any Israelis. And it's quite different than a war. But if you want to know a little bit more about that, it's basically mean to go undercover to their houses, to the houses of the terrorists, and when they don't understand that we are even there, to grab them while they are asleep the day before, or even sometimes few minutes before they are planning to go on attack, to take them with us and sometimes if we were needed also, if gunshots had been, started between us to make sure that they won't be able to kill anyone. So we did what we needed to do, but it's very different than war. Because in the war, first of all, we have the hostages inside. We can't just, the only problem with that we're dealing with through this war is that we are not fighting an army. We are always dressed with uniform while we are at war, while the Hamas dressed as a regular civilians. You can define who is an enemy, who is just a regular civilians, and they're using that in order to hide bombs. Yeah, to do whatever they can in order to use our morality against us, because we do not put any civilians in between our fight, in between our cause. And unfortunately, Hamas using their own people as human shields. They actually don't care about his own people. I told you before when we had the interview about the story with the hospital, with the school, I'm sorry, that they use the baby as human shield. This is what they're doing.
Yeah. It's disgusting. Captain, I want you to pause right there because you mentioned something that I think Israel, the IDF, the Mossad, you guys get a lot of credit for having very good intelligence gathering and being able to act on that intelligence with units like yours that go in there and get things before they happen. And we saw some good examples of that recently where the walkie-talkies and the pagers were exploding on Hezbollah terrorists that were, going to attack. Instead, they got attacked right on their person, which I think is just crazy. It's one of the most original attacks I've ever seen. And I want to get your reaction to that.
I think it's amazing. No one in the IDF took responsibility for that action, but I do think that this was brilliant. This is the most accurate, smart, clever way to deal with those terrorists. Everyone who held these walkie-talkies or these pagers was connected to Hezbollah, was connected to a terror organization. I know there were some people that for some reason decide to protest against this action, against this operation, but I think it was brilliant. And I would like to see much more out of that and more like that, because this is there. You can't do anything more precise, accurate against terror than this kind of operation.
Yeah, and I have a couple of follow-up questions for you, and I also want to learn more about the book. Folks, make sure you get a copy, get two. If you can, give one to somebody who's interested in reading it. Listen to this. October 7th, The War Against Hamas Through the Eyes of an Israeli Commando Officer. The author is Captain Elkana Cohen, and Kuno is coming back with us momentarily. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. This is America. This is Night. This is Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. We continue our discussion on the one-year anniversary of the war that Hamas waged against Israel when they attacked and murdered civilians at a music festival and in villages and kibbutz. And over 1,200 people were murdered. Over 101 people are being held, or over 100 people are being held hostage still today. And our guest is Captain Elkana Cohen. He's author of the book October 7th, The War Against Hamas Through the Eyes of an Israeli Commando Officer. Captain Cohen, a.k.a. Kuno, I want to ask you, we were just talking about the intelligence abilities that you all have that are superior, and you get a lot of credit for that. And this most recent example being the exploding pagers and walkie-talkies, a brilliant tactical maneuver against Hamas, despite being claimed any responsibility for by the IDF. Nonetheless, there are critics that also say that despite all of the good intelligence, that it should never have happened, that Israel should never have allowed Hamas to make it across the border to attack the civilians. How do you respond to that criticism?
I think that they're right. We shouldn't let Hamas cross our border and breach into our state. And unfortunately, that day the idea failed. We failed in our first mission, which is to protect our people. And this is, every time when I'm thinking about it, I don't have other word to describe that. I'm just very sad that Hamas was able to do that day. Unfortunately, I lost 9 friends. And yes, we failed that day. But right now, we need to be focused about fighting them and to make sure that nothing like that will ever happen again. I'm a observed Jew, and I believe that this was God willing, because I don't understand how such thing happened to us on October 7th, because we were blind that day. We didn't saw it coming, or maybe if we saw it, we didn't respond on the right time. But right now we know that we have to fight those people. Those terrorists only want to kill as many Jewish as they can, and not only Jewish, but everyone from Western values, and we need to just fight them.
Now, Kuno, there's also reports and criticism from people that are saying that the most recent attack, 180 plus rockets fired at Israel, were very effective, and that it was underreported in the media. Other reports said that the rockets that did make their way to the ground, that were not stopped by the Iron Dome, were headed towards areas that did not have civilian populations, that were kind of open fields. What's your opinion of that, and what can you tell us?
All right, so when Iran decided to shoot those missiles towards us, first of all, they again declared war against Israel and also against the United States, as your president told them not to do it, and they just didn't care and did whatever they want to. And yes, thanks God, we have the Iron Dome system and wonderful Air Force. With the help of your Air Force, we were able to make sure that nothing happened that time. But I think that right now we have to react. The Iran regime should understand that they cannot attack us whenever they want, and we need to react. The fact that no one killed that day beside one Palestinian that didn't listen to the orders of being inside a bomb shelter at that time, we still have to react. And I hope to see that the IDF will do something for that and to hit their economy. This is mostly what I want to see. But, I'm not the prime minister. I'm not talking from a politics position. I can only talk from my perspective.
Yeah, I hear that, brother. And I want to thank you for being with us. Folks, again, Kuno is Captain Elkana Cohen. He's the author of October 7th, The War Against Hamas Through the Eyes of an Israeli Commando Officer. Captain Cohen, I want to thank you for being here. Godspeed to you and what you're doing. And let everybody know where they get a copy of the book and how they can find you if they want to follow you.
Yes, so if you want to get a copy of the book, you're more than welcome to look on Amazon. This will be probably the easiest way. And if you want to talk with me, you can talk to me directly through my Instagram account. It is Elkana_Kuno, ELKANA_KUNO. But I just want to share another experience that I had today.
Sure.
Before I had right now I'm here in the United States for a speaking tour to share our story. And right now I'm in New York. And my wife told me that she wanted to pray at the Rabbi Lubavitch Ohel, that place that a lot of Jewish going there. And I didn't understand. I didn't knew it, but Trump was there. And I managed to give him a call. Yeah, he was praying there. And I managed to give 2 copies to one of his guards in order to sign one for Trump. And I left there another one for him to sign. And I just got signed copies from Donald Trump.
How cool is that? Good for you. That's going to be worth a lot one day.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah.
Outstanding.
So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everyone who's supporting us. It has meant a lot, and I highly appreciate it. So please keep doing that. And if you have any question, feel more than welcome to send me a message on Instagram. Or I forgot to say, you can also visit my website. It is Elkana-Cohen.com, ELKANA-COHEN.com. I'm here for you, and thank you for your support.
Absolutely, brother. Godspeed to you. Stay safe out there, my man. God bless.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks, we continue our conversation straight ahead. We're going to continue on this topic. Again, we've got a couple of more from Trump with Elon Musk and a lot more to discuss with you, all the American people, because Open Phones Across America is coming up at the top of the next hour. That's a few minutes away. You can start getting your calls in now. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. It's Rich Valdez keeping you company straight till 1 a.m. Eastern time. That's another hour and a couple of minutes. And we're going to be kicking off Open Phones Across America momentarily. I am going to take one call likely before the end of the hour here. The phone number is 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. Let's go to St. Louis, Missouri, streaming the show on richvaldez.com and check in with Jeremy. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hi, Rich. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes,
it
sir.
was interesting to see President Trump at that memorial service today. It really touched my heart when he posed for pictures of hostages with a big smile and a thumbs up.
Did you see that? I didn't see that, Jeremy. Seems like you're trying to spread misinformation. I didn't see him posing. I saw him wearing a yarmulke. I saw him reading a prayer book. I saw him in the company of a lot of Jewish brethren that were happy that he was there praying with them. And I got to tell you that the telltale sign for a troll is when they say they're streaming the show. Most of the people that stream in a market where we're not on the air. But in a market where we're on the air, people usually tell the truth because they're listening to the radio. But people like Jeremy are usually unpaid shills. And they call radio stations, they call shows like mine to trash Trump and spread their left-wing propaganda because they think I'm not smart enough to smell them coming a mile away. But I could smell you, Jeremy, and you stink. You smell like a fish that rots from the head. Anyway, folks, Open Phones Across America is coming up right now. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media, your liberty-loving Latino amigo. Happy to be here with you this third hour of the program. Our telephone number, if you want to join us live and national, 833-4825-337-8334, Valdez. And I want to just recap some of what we've done tonight. Of course, we've talked about Kamala Harris, right? Vice President Kamala Harris, Joel Baboso Biden, and Alejandro Mayorkas, who, in my opinion, are a triumvirate of transnational criminals overseeing the largest human smuggling operation that's become somewhat of an underground railroad, a modern-day slave trade right at our southern border. And they've got so many people in the deep state aiding and abetting every step that they take, every move that they make. That's what's happening at the border. And now they say they've run out of FEMA cash. No more FEMA cash, despite Kamala Harris saying that she would give billions to Ukraine and Biden signing over millions to Ukraine. She only told the people in North Carolina and Florida and Georgia and everybody in the southern states that were affected by Hurricane Helene, who are likely going to be affected now again by Hurricane Milton, that she would only give them $750. Disgusting. Then my buddy Curtis Sliwa, his son was attacked along with former Governor David Paterson in New York by a gang of thugs, stomping them on the floor, forcing them to, as Curtis would say, suck concrete. And I'm guessing that's what their future is going to hold. And we got a report from that right from Curtis. And then Trump returns to Butler, Pennsylvania, this time with Elon Musk in tow. And he has an epic opening to his speech. Check this out.
Lee, thank you very much, really. And thank you, a very big thank you to Pennsylvania. We love Pennsylvania. And as I was saying,
and of course, you've got thunderous applause there.
I love that chart. I love that graph.
I mean, he loves the chart, the graph that he turned his head to look at while he was giving the speech, which he doesn't often do, which in the moment he turned his head is when the bullet whizzed by his head and hit his ear instead of blowing his brains out. So I would love that chart too. And of course, I would give all thanks and praise to the Lord Jesus Christ for saving his life. And absolutely an act of God, in my opinion. But Trump makes his triumphant return, right? Facing death in the face and, winning. Imagine that, right? And he shows up with Elon Musk. And Elon Musk has been out there stumping hard, doing lots of tweeting. He's on the campaign trail. He was in Butler, and he's had a lot to say himself. And we're going to continue with a little bit of what El Trompito had to say, as well as some of your calls on this stuff. But we're going to get to Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, saying that the field is now a monument. The field where he was shot is now a monument to the valor of his first responders. Of course, Elon Musk telling people they need to get out and register to vote because this could be our last election. And then, of course, you've got the Democrats, Senator Mark Kelly. He was on CNN yesterday saying, you know what? Musk supports Trump because he wants that giant tax cut for billionaires, right? So if that were true, then why wouldn't all the billionaires be out there stumping for Trump? Why don't we see that? Why isn't George Soros out there stumping for Trump? Yeah, that's what I thought. Crickets. Anyway, I want you to hear this one from El Trompito himself, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States, when he says that an assassin tried to silence me and the MAGA movement and failed. Listen to this.
Exactly 12 weeks ago this evening on this very ground, a cold-blooded assassin aimed to silence me and to silence the greatest movement, MAGA, in the history of our country. MAGA. We love MAGA. For 16 harrowing seconds during the gunfire, time stopped as this vicious monster unleashed pure evil from his sniper's perch, not so far away. But by the hand of Providence and the grace of God, that villain did not succeed in his goal, did not come close. He did not stop our movement. He did not break out our spirit. He did not shake our unyielding resolve to save America from evils of poverty, hatred, and destruction.
That again, El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States, at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania this weekend. And, of course, your calls on everything we've discussed tonight, as well as anything you want to bring to the table. I'll even take some of the trolls. But let's see, where do we start tonight? We are going to start... Let's start. Well, since Mark Kelly was just talking, maybe we'll go to Arizona, or maybe we're going to go to Tim and Mary in Illinois. WGGH. Tim, go right ahead.
Bless you, Brother Rich.
Thank you, sir.
I'm very grateful that you say the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Tim Walz did not look like Rodney Dangerfield. He looked like Don Rickles.
Absolutely.
And the same as Don Rickles, he's mean, thinking that men need to use tampons. Another thing is the country needs to get back on track, put our priorities straight. It goes God, family, country, and never put ketchup on a hot dog.
Unbelievable. I call it there. I put ketchup on my dogs, but you know what? Let me tell you a funny story. I only know two people that eat a steak, a good expensive steak, and they not only do they cook it till it's well done, like just beneath hockey puck status, but they put ketchup on the steak. And those two people are El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States, and the great one, Mark Levin. These guys eat their steak the same exact way, well done with ketchup. Tim, what do you think?
That's nasty.
That's what I'm saying. See, now my ketchup on a hot dog isn't so bad.
Words for that. Ugh.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate the call. Tim and Mary in Illinois. Now, for everybody that's listening, a hot dog in Chicago is very different than a hot dog in New York City, right? A dirty water dog. You go to a dirty water dog in New York City, your typical options are only typical, right? Ketchup and mustard. But you can also request the sauteed onions or the sauerkraut. And some guys even have chili. And the chili, that stuff will put a hole through you or burn up an existing hole that you already have going through you, because that stuff is brutal. Anyway, Tim, thanks for the call, brother. I appreciate it. Let us continue. I want to go to, let me see, where do we go? I want to go to break, because I have to figure out where we're going, and we have to play a clip of audio before we do the next one. So we're going to do that. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. America at Night, your home for the best election coverage.
Register to vote. Okay? And get everyone you know and everyone you don't know
drag them to register to vote. There's only 2 days left to register to vote in Georgia and Arizona. 48 hours. Like, text people now. Now. And then make sure they actually do vote. If they don't, this will be the last election. That's my prediction. Nothing's more important. Nothing's more important.
Nothing is more important. That's Elon Musk at the rally with El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States, hopefully soon to become the 47th president. And Elon Musk explaining, and he tweeted this out as well, that this is the most important election we've ever had. In fact, it could be the last one. Now, I don't know exactly what he means by that, but I would suspect that he's saying, look, this is it. We've put all the attention in the world that we can on the shenanigans and chicanery that occurred in the last election. If we don't get in now and gut out the government and clean up the mess that's in Washington and in our system and continue pushing back against the media and the attacks on free speech, the Democrats will, in effect, cement their power. They will solidify their grip on what they have right now, which is everything. And we will never, ever really see the liberty we're supposed to have. This is my inference from what he's saying, because this is what is at stake, in my opinion. This is what is on the line. And I think he's right. But, of course, he's got critics, right? Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona was on CNN yesterday criticizing him, saying that Musk is only supporting Trump because he wants that giant tax cut for billionaires. But that we're not going to lose our ability to have elections. In fact, it was El Trompito and all his friends, crazies like Elon Musk and me, Rich Valdez, that are out there saying these things, and that's why he wants a tax cut. He's only supporting Trump for the money. Listen to Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona.
He said if Trump doesn't win, this will be the last election. Musk, as you know, has a huge social media platform and a lot of influence there. He receives billions of dollars from the federal government in contracts. Does it worry you to hear what he said and see what he's doing?
Well, it's also hypocritical. He's standing next to the guy that tried to overturn the 2020 election on January 6th. You know, saying that this is somehow going to be the last election and they're going to take away your vote, and, you know, it just doesn't pass the logic test. I think it also highlights the amount of influence that dark money and billionaires have in our political system. It's not lost on me, and it shouldn't be lost on the American people, that Donald Trump, when he was president, gave a giant tax cut to billionaires. Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. He's got a tremendous amount of interest in Donald Trump being elected president, because Donald Trump made it, I mean, it's clear he's going to double down on tax cuts to billionaires while sticking it to American families.
Again, if that were true, why isn't George Soros backing him up? Why aren't all the crazy lefty billionaires backing him up? Right? Why isn't that happening? It's not happening because it's really not true, right? In the entirety of things, the tax cuts benefit a whole lot more than billionaires. So I think that's inaccurate. But what I will say is this: Elon Musk is a billionaire. He is the richest man in the world. All these things that they're saying about him are true. That part of it, right? He is influential and gaining influence. And I do believe that he is trying to influence the outcome of the election, just like everyone else that endorses and supports a candidate. That's what we do. I'm also interfering in the election, trying to get you to vote for Trump. I want you to vote for the things that matter to me: America, liberty, the First Amendment, free speech in particular. These things matter. So do I want you or anybody else to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, Tiananmen Tim? No. Why would I? There's no benefit for me, for my children, for this country, for our countrymen. Nada. Cero. Cero combinado, right? 2 zeros. So, and that's each of them, right? Kamala and Tim. So my point here is Senator Mark Kelly, he's saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff. The reality is, look, people are going to support whoever they want. Nobody says the only reason that Soros is supporting Kamala is X, Y, and Z. We all know those reasons, and it has nothing to do with his exercising his right. I mean, that's what he is doing that, but it has everything to do with the agenda that he supports, and Musk supports the agenda that Trump supports. Punto final. Period. The end. It shouldn't go beyond that. But somehow, if Musk gets himself a billionaire, it's a problem. Or I should say, if Trump gets himself a billionaire in Musk, that's a problem. I think the whole thing is stupid, honestly. But I want to get your thoughts, and I want to go to Pat in Sedona, Arizona, because, that's your senator, Mark Kelly speaking. Pat on richvaldez.com. Go right ahead, brother.
Rich, thank you. And thanks for taking care of those trolls. Boy, I love listening to you guys. I could listen all night to you batter those guys around. They're so fake. I'll tell you this about Mark Kelly. He's a rubber stamp for the Democratic Party. He does not care. He says, help's on the way to the border. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I saw something very interesting on the internet. Now, you can take it with a grain of salt because it's the internet. It's not the most truthful place in the world, but there is a listing post on a hill that's just about maybe 30 yards inside in Mexico. And on top of it is this perch, and they call that a sniper hole. They talk about, military terms, and it's a listing post for a guy that's giving the cartel the status of our border, which is wide open because they took the temporary one away. The previous governor, who was a rhino, his name is Ducifer, and he was not a Republican. He was not a conservative. He was not even an American. And he took away this makeshift border that we put there, made it a little hard for them to get into our country. Now it's wide open. And we are so spread thin on the border, like especially New Mexico and Arizona, that it's patrolled. It's not having a lot of people on it. And this guy calls and tells the cartel when to bring people over, when to bring whatever they bring into our state and into our country. And it's a listening post, and they showed it on the internet. Now, I've not seen this hill, but I've seen our border, and I see how wide open it is. And I'll tell you, let's say this. The Democrats make a problem, and now they're trying to solve it. They've made a problem with the immigration. Now they made a problem that we don't have money to help our people out with these disasters. Where's that money gone? Well, maybe it's gone to all these people who come here visiting uninvited, people. So
right, and it's those uninvited people that are invading the country. And I hate to sound mean, right? I love the American dream just like the next guy, but we're in over our heads here, Pat. Thank you for your call, brother. I appreciate you. Folks, we continue with more. October 7th, the 1-year anniversary. FEMA, Trump, Harris, and more. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez.
Now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
It feels surreal. It's just this much time has gone by and they're still not back. And the 1-year mark is obviously very significant, and this is a time to all band together and really get them home. Like, the time is now.
This year was very, very difficult, very sad. All the day we pray for Khatufim.
Really
nothing I can say. Like, I never thought we would still be here a year later, and and I'm still, so anxious about how they're doing, and I just want to see them come back already.
It's been a horrible year, but also full with good. Like, I think I saw my people, the people of Israel, standing up and helping each other in a way we hadn't had in, I don't know, either ever or many, many years, because we were in a bad situation before the war and we're in a worse situation right now. But the fact that these are my people and that we are in it together, does make me feel a little bit of hope that it will be good eventually, and we will get out of it, and the war will be over, the hostages will be back home, and we can rebuild ourselves in a better country with a better government, better everything, because the people of Israel are amazing, insanely amazing people.
That, of course, is a report from ILTV from Ariella Lahaini, and she's speaking with residents of Tel Aviv regarding the one-year anniversary of October 7th, the massacre conducted by Hamas at the request or behest of Iran, where they murdered 1,200 Israelis who were attending a music conference and several others in a kibbutz, and murdered, rape, beheading, burning infants, just absolute horror. The worst attack on the Jewish state since the Holocaust, on Jews in general, and just absolute carnage. And we've had some very good discussion on that tonight. Of course, we'll be taking your calls on that as well, and I want to get to one of your calls now. Let's go to Gilad. He's calling us from Minneapolis, Minnesota on KROC. Gilad, go right ahead.
Hello, Rich. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I'm an Israeli American, and it was very special to me to see President Trump at that memorial, especially when he played YMCA by the Village People after the event. That really was a nice, touching moment when he had that playing. Very somber affair.
I didn't hear that part of it either, Gilad, but I do appreciate your call, and I did see the photos. I honestly didn't see any video of the event, so I saw photos of President Trump, holding the prayer book and wearing the yarmulke, and commemorating the loss. And I know that there's a lot of people that are very critical of President Trump, whether it's the musical selection that they're saying he played, or smiling for photographs or whatever and what have you. But the reality is, October 7th isn't about President Trump, Gilad. It's really about, it's truly about the horror, right? It's about the evil. It's about all the just the carnage that came at the hands of Iranian mercenaries that we call Hamas, and the horrible things they did, and the horrible at least videos that I've seen and firsthand accounts of people who were there, who I've interviewed, and it's absolute just truly dismaying and disgusting and just heartbreaking, honestly, to think that this type of barbarism that we thought only existed years ago, and when people would say they're going to rape and pillage, your village, still happening in today's world, and it's truly unfortunate. But thank you for your thoughts and for listening to the program and for calling. Big shout out to everybody in Minneapolis, Minnesota on KROC. I really appreciate it, and I want to continue. Let's go to Jane, Saratoga, New York, WGDJ. Jane, go right ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you. You are I know I've said this before. You are the best out there. You really are.
Thank you.
And you know what? You are so good at talking these morons down who call and say such ridiculous things and want to just fry Trump. And you know what? Trump is smart, and Trump is strong, and I believe I watched his rally And that was one of the most moving things I've ever watched. It was so exciting. And when the audience started chanting, fight, 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 and it looked almost like Trump had tears in his eyes. And this is what our country is about. And you know what? All we have to do is stick together. And we can do this. We can fix it. And I think Elon Musk backing him, I think that's a very positive thing, don't you? I mean,
yeah, listen, I think it's terrific. I'm not opposed to look, I think Musk is, he doesn't represent me, right? I'm not part of the richest man in the world club. But he does represent me when he's talking about protecting free speech. Am I a fan of electric cars or space exploration? Probably not. But when he's providing internet, because he's got satellites to people that are in disaster-stricken areas in the South because of this hurricane and a new hurricane coming, I say, you know what? He's a good American, African-American, right? He's doing his thing to help the people in the South, and that's good. So, you know, I try to chew the meat, spit out the bones. I even try to do it with Biden and Kamala Harris. They just don't give me much meat, I should say, and a lot of bone, Jane.
They're just idiots, period. So.
Thank you, Jane. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your kind words. And a big shout-out to WGDJ. That's Paul Vandenberg Country, great radio station. And we're going to continue with your calls and more straight ahead. If you want to join the conversation, whether you like me or don't like me or agree or disagree, you're welcome to call 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Rich Valdez, the day that you welcome me to your show is a happy day for me. And I hope that America appreciates what you're doing because you're fighting a good fight.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do? Yes, it's misinformation.
Is there money to send Lebanon right now?
I just mentioned to you that we provided more than $200 million to folks who are impacted in the area, and I just shared with you that people are deciding not to. People are deciding not to.
Not wait. To Congress that there's not enough money to help people.
We're talking about the SBA disaster loan.
That's money for people in North Carolina,
and that's important. And people in North Carolina need that. Wait, this is nothing new. Peter, this is nothing new. Congress comes together, they provide money, millions of dollars, for disaster relief. We're asking them to do the job that they have been doing for some time.
From a letter that President Biden sent to Johnson, McConnell, Schumer, and Jeffries. The president's letter is not misinformation. Would you agree?
No, the way you're asking me the question is misinformation. There is money that we are allocating to the impacted areas, and there's money there to help people who truly need it. There are survivors who need the funding, and it's there.
That you don't like misinformation.
I actually said we have the money available to help survivors of Hurricane Helene and also Hurricane Milton. Now there's going to be a shortfall, right? Because we don't know how bad Hurricane Milton is going to be. And so we're going to need additional funding. That's
exactly what I just asked about. And you said it was misinformation. Yes.
What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund. That's what Congress needs to do, and we're going to continue to urge that. You may not want that, but that's okay. That's what this president wants, and that's what the vice president wants. Thanks, everybody.
Ooh, things are getting testy in the White House briefing room. Of course, that's KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, trading barbs with Peter Doocy, him saying, it's not misinformation if you don't like the question. And I have to agree with that. Oftentimes people don't disagree with what you say and they call you misinformation. The other day I saw an organization called Media Matters for America is saying that I am spreading misinformation because they don't like what I'm saying. So take that, Media Matters. Anyway, that's what's going on with those two with respect to the hurricane. You've got a lot of talk with $750. FEMA's running out of money coming from Mayorkas' own mouth, $750 coming from Harris's own mouth, and the IG saying, no, we've got plenty of money left, and Biden himself saying that we've spent all the money we've allocated already, and he said as much as well. We played that cut for you, I think, on Thursday. So what gives? Anyway, I want to get your thoughts on this hurricane and everything else that we've been talking about. Let us continue here. I want to go to Frank in Evergreen, Montana, KOFI. Go right ahead.
Hi, Rich. 4 days ago, I was reported, I saw it in Forbes and another article in another paper about it was Baxter International. They make medical supplies, and their factory that makes IV solutions bags, etc. for saline solutions.
Frank, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Everything you're saying is true. I was at lunch on Saturday with one of my best friends ever. I grew up with this kid, and we hang out all the time. We do lunch, I don't know, maybe 3 times a month. We're very close. And I've known him for more than 30 years. He is in charge of supply chain management for several hospitals in the Northeast, and he was telling me about this company and how the IV solution, they are the main supplier of this, and that they are now rationing these supplies because they can't get it anywhere else. And I was like, wow, it's amazing, right? We first with COVID, we were like getting stuff from overseas. Now we're here, make it in the USA. We got it right here. Disaster strikes, and we're still screwed. And he was saying they're postponing certain surgeries and they're moving things out. So everything you're saying, I can tell you from a very well-trusted source is absolutely true. Frank.
Yeah, it's sad. But I think we're going into depression. And the only way out of it, I suppose, is to have the National Guard shock troops and the media press to photograph us. If we're sad, they'll shock us into being happy again, and there'll be joy.
The other part of it is, we can use the National Guard. We can use the I forget the name of that act that Trump used to when we didn't have enough ventilators. The Defense Production Act. We started making those, right? We started turning distilleries that were making vodka and other products. They were making hand sanitizer during COVID, right? Because Trump grabbed the bull by the horns and he made sure things were getting done. Unlike these clowns that are in Washington right now that are saying, oh, we don't have money for this, we don't have money for that, and we can't do this and that. It's an absolute shame, and you're right. People are sad, and they might need shock therapy, Frank. Thanks for the call from Evergreen, Montana, KOFI. Let's continue further south. Let's go to Marianna, Florida, WDBT, and check in with Jesse. Go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdez. Welcome.
Hey, Rich. Thanks for the show, man. It's great. I listen to it every time I get into the service truck. But I just wanted to let you know everybody's starting to leave the peninsula in Florida. So I-10 is...
I heard there's massive evacuations going on.
Yep, it is. It is true. And, about the FEMA money, $750 ain't going to cut it, man.
Yeah. Listen, I used to date a girl in Fort Lauderdale, and whenever there's a hurricane, I'd be like, hey, you all right? And she'd be like, yeah, we're fine. We just get together and drink. We don't ever do these things. But apparently there's a lot of Floridians that are taking off right now, and they're not used to it, right? Most Floridians do go down with the ships, stay with the fort. But in this case, a Category 5 hurricane coming in right after a smaller one. This is brutal, Jesse.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one, man. I was here during Ivan. I was here during Katrina and the Panhandle. Those were bad, but a Category 5, I don't even know what's going to happen.
Man, well, Godspeed to you. Our prayers are with everybody, with you, and with everybody that's out there in Florida and the rest of the country, honestly, and everybody in the South that's dealing with this hurricane, both Helene and Milton. This is brutal stuff. Jesse, God bless you, my friend, and thank you for tuning in. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Let us continue. Let's go to across the country to the other side, Oxnard, California, and check in with Gloria, who's calling us on KVTA. Gloria, go right ahead.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Valdez. I laugh sometimes when I hear your program at night, and I do agree with you as to the assistance to the North Carolinas and then when Eli Musk. I'm not a big fan of his, but if he's there to help Trump and the people to get communication, I'm all for that.
Right.
And so, and the reason I also called is also because Kamala Harris looked up one day that back in 2009 and 2012, she was when she was the Attorney General for Governor Brown, that there was sexual abuse by the correction officers at the Chowchilla prison. And what happened is that many ladies got together and filed a complaint against this correction office over there in Chowchilla, Madera, California. And she took it underneath the ground. She just didn't do anything about that.
Swept it right under the rug.
Oh, my God. It got even worse than that. We filed, you can look up my name, Gloria Delgado versus the state of California, Chowchilla prison, and you see the ugliness, what the judge said about the Attorney General and Governor Brown and the correction department.
Unbelievable. Gloria, I will take a look. I can't stay on much longer because my producer's telling me I have to take a pause, but I want to thank you for listening to the show and for enjoying the show. I encourage you to call back again. I love speaking with our listeners out in California and all across the country, but KVTA is a great radio station, and I'm so glad you're tuned in. Folks, we're going to come right back with the rest of your calls in the speed round. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Frank in Cumberland, Maryland, WCBC. Go right ahead quickly.
Your show is a good example of Jewish domination of the media and Congress. Officer Cohen, in the first part of your show, was a good example of a brave soldier, but there are brave soldiers on the other side. Why can't we hear about them? Instead, anyone who talks about what's going on, like Helen Thomas, gets silenced.
I don't know who she is, but I'll tell you this, and I'll make this a very public announcement. Nobody from the other side has ever contacted this show that reaches probably north of 6 million people nightly. Nobody has ever contacted me to come on this program, knowing full well that I always give the other side a platform. So take that for what it is, Frank. WCBC, shout out to you guys, and thank you for your thoughts on that. Let me see. Where do we go? Very quickly. Sarah in Bedford, Indiana, WBIW. Go for it.
Great show, great call here. I think Elon Musk is completely correct about this being the last free election. The writing's on the wall. We'll have illegals being made citizens. They'll be inclined to vote Democratic so they can get more freebies, more hate speech, weaponization of law enforcement. You get the picture.
Absolutely, Sarah. Spot on like usual. I think you're right, and so is Elon in this case. WBIW in the building. Thank you, Sarah. Let us continue. We've got Paul. Oh, we don't got Paul. Shoot. Paul wanted to mess around with me and talk about Kamala and other stuff. Paul, if you can go back tomorrow, I'd appreciate it. Robert in Charleston, WTMA, I'd love to talk with you as well. Norma in Oregon, KUMA, please call back. As well as Linda in Albany wanted to thank us for having Curtis Sliwa on. I want to hear from all of you guys. Hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. And God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez.